to my channel. So I can't really believe I'm making this video today, but it's gonna be a long one potentially, but I just want to talk you through everything that happened leading up to the point where I tested positive for coronavirus, because you know that's the title of this video, so I might as well not beat around the bush. And the thing is, it's really frustrating for me because I have been off work as a children's nurse for 12 weeks because I fell into the vulnerable category of people. I was told by my GP to stay at home and shield, and I did so. And during that time I followed everything by the book, you know. Didn't get on public transport, washed hands, did, you know, social distancing, etc. And still I managed to get the virus, which is very strange, and I wish I knew how I got it. But I kind of want to document this for everybody to know, like, kind of the symptoms that I had, and you know how everything led up to the point of me getting tested and what the test was like, etc. But also for me to obviously remember, because I never ever imagined that I would get it, ever. And like I said, because I followed everything by the book. But I'm going to start off with when all of this started. And it's a little bit sad, but I've written everything down on a piece of paper just so that I remember exactly how everything occurred and when. Basically all started on Wednesday the 3rd of June. And it was just a normal day. Me and my sister we've got a loft in our parents' house, and we were just clearing loads of things out of there. There's so much junk up there, and we were just getting rid of bits of wood. We were packing textile things to put in to the recycling centres. We were getting rid of clothes, things like that. Getting rid of the wooden stuff was quite heavy work because we were having to break everything into tiny bits, get them down from the attic, put them outside in the garden into a pile to take to the recycling centre. So it was quite tough work. That night I started developing really bad sharp pains in the lower right side of my back. I mean, at the time I thought it could have been due to two things. One, obviously from having done the attic work during the day, but I also get reoccurring kidney infections, and if you've ever had a kidney infection, you get a specific sharp pain on either your left side of your back or your right side, and I've had them on both. Put it down to being, you know, the start of either a kidney infection or the fact that I had been doing work in the attic. That night when I went to bed on the Wednesday, I was shivering. My teeth were chattering, my whole body was going into spasms of shivering, and I put it down to pain because I know that if you are in a lot of pain, your body kind of goes into shock, and it starts shivering. You know, I started feeling quite weak at that point as well before going to bed, and I slept with a hot water bottle that night, just to see if it would ease the pain at all. And I also remember taking a Senna tablet, which is a herbal tablet to help like bowel movements, because the whole reason why I get kidney infections, or why anyone gets kidney infections, is because and there's going to be a lot of TMI in this video, by the way, so if you don't want to hear it, then don't watch this video. But yeah, if you've got a kidney infection, it's basically because you can't get rid of waste from your body. A urine infection is slightly different, but you know, your kidneys get rid of waste in your body. So I've suffered with kidney infections a lot in the past. I've had operations on my insides because of kidney infections. But anyway, so I took a Senna tablet, which is a herbal tablet, to try and see if in the morning I would be able to do what I needed to do and my pain would be a bit more relieved. To the next day, Thursday the 4th of June, in the morning I started feeling really sick. I completely lost my appetite. I kept my fluids up, but I was struggling to eat anything. And also with having type 1 diabetes, my blood sugars were constantly high that day as well, which is something that occurs every time I'm unwell. My body releases glucose because I don't have a pancreas that works to release insulin to keep my blood sugars down. My body just releases more glucose, so my blood sugars were just sky high, off the rails, uncontrollable. After managing to eat something for breakfast, I can't remember what now, but I run myself a bath, a nice hot bubble bath with bath salts and everything, just to see if that would help as well. I continued like really fatigued, I continued shivering, teeth chattering. I measured my heart rate as well, because when I'm unwell my heart rate goes, I mean, my resting heart rate is quite high anyway, but when I'm unwell it goes through the roof. So my heart rate was 102 beats per minute on that day. I took some paracetamol obviously to see if that would help with the pain. I had no energy at all, and that night I got up during the night, I think it was twice. Got up at 3:30 in the morning and then at 7 in the morning, feeling like I was going to be sick, but I just couldn't. Nothing was coming out, probably due to the fact that I hadn't eaten much, but I was just sort of retching a lot and not being able to be sick. That night was the same sort of thing. I slept with a hot water bottle again because I still had a lot of pain on my back, and I took another Senna tablet because I still hadn't been able to go to the toilet and open my bowels, and I hadn't, you know, been successful in doing any of that. And that night I also checked my temperature and it was 37.7, so it was borderline hitting a fever, but not quite. So that was Thursday. Friday was probably the worst day. So Friday morning at 9 AM I had a temperature. So I checked my temperature and it was 38.4. At the time I didn't think, oh my goodness, I've got coronavirus. All of this that was occurring up until that point I thought was due to the kidney infection which I had. You know, there had been no other signs that would alert me to me thinking that I had coronavirus. I told my boyfriend that my temperature was 38.4 by message, and he asked me if, you know, I had any if I had any loss of taste or any loss of sense of smell, which I didn't. I had no coughs either, so I think alarm bells were kind of ringing for my boyfriend when I told him I had a temperature, but not necessarily for me. Paracetamol throughout the day to see if my temperature would come down and if the pain would go in my back. After taking some paracetamol, my temperature went down to 38, and that day I gave my GP a call. Not only to discuss obviously what had been going on for the last couple of days with me being unwell, but I was due to return back to work on the 17th of June, and I needed, you know, advice from the GP to see if it was okay for me to go back to work after my 12 weeks of shielding. I spoke to my GP, I told them about my symptoms, about the temperature that I had got that morning. I told him about obviously the whole kidney infection side of things, and the GP prescribed me some antibiotics and some laxatives. And again, to reiterate, this was all for my kidney infection, supposedly. Obviously when I told the GP that I had had a fever that morning, he did say if you still have a fever tomorrow on the Saturday, he advised me that I should get a coronavirus test, not only to rule that out as the cause of my fever, but also to know whether I was positive or negative before returning to work, because obviously with my job role as a children's nurse, it would be good for me to know if I had it or not. My heart rate that day went down to about 96 beats per minute on that day. The back pain started to go, but I started to develop a migraine, and I hadn't slept much for the last 48 hours, so I put it down to that. Continued shivering on the Friday, and there was one point when my paracetamol ran out of my system, when it was time to take it again, where my temperature actually went up to 39, and that was the highest reading of temperature that I got during the whole thing. So yeah, so I did start taking antibiotics on that Friday for my kidney infection, but I just felt so weak. I was too weak to move, I was too weak to eat anything, and at the end of the day on the Friday at 8:30 in the evening, my temperature was 38.4, and that was just before I went to sleep, or tried to go to sleep. That was the Friday. So I went to bed kind of thinking that I'd wake up and I'd feel a bit better, that the fever would go. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have a temperature tomorrow, I'm not gonna need to go and get tested, I'm gonna be fine. But I woke up on the Saturday morning and I did have a temperature, and again on the Saturday morning I was trying to be sick and I couldn't be sick. I was just retching and retching. Temperature was still high. I can't remember what my temperature was. I think it was something like 38.2, but I can't remember 100%, and I haven't written it down. So I knew I had to follow the GP's advice and book a test. I was too weak to actually be able to book a test, so my boyfriend kindly went online and he booked one for me for 10:30 on Saturday morning. So I went and got tested. So my boyfriend drove me there, did the test. The test itself was awful because I just hate anything going to the back of my throat. I was feeling sick anyway, so having something swirling around in the back of my throat was not going to make me feel any better. And then when I did the swab on my nose, I seem to have really a small nose, so I kind of did the swab, but my nose has not been the same ever since. And the day I'm filming this is Tuesday the 9th of June, so this only happened a couple of days ago, but my nose is still quite sore from where I did the swab. But yeah, I did the swab, it was sent away, and I was expecting to only get the results back within 48 hours, which is, they tell you that you're only going to get the test results back in 48 hours. Did the result at 10:30, did the test at 10:30 in the morning, and I got the results at 10:05 in the evening by email, and my body just went into shock when I saw that I had tested positive. I got upset, as anyone would. I was just confused. I didn't understand how I had it when I hadn't been in contact with anyone. But I think it just goes to show that even if you are super careful and you do everything by the book, you can still get it, unfortunately. And it could be from anything. It could be from things that you buy in the supermarket that you bring home and don't sanitize. My parents had been at work. They'd both been obviously in contact with customers. My dad works in a garage and fixes cars. It could have been something from that. My mum works in an independent takeaway restaurant. It could have been there. Like, I just don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, I was really shocked, and I think, I've said this to a lot of people, I felt more bad for the ones that were at home with me at the time, so my boyfriend Alan and my parents, who were obviously having to contact their managers the next day and tell their managers that they weren't going to be able to come into work for 14 days following government rules. So I'm still self-isolating. So I got unwell. I started showing symptoms last Friday, so I'll be self-isolating until this Friday, and then hopefully by the Saturday I'll be okay to, you know, go out and obviously with precautions and do shopping and stuff like that. Days following me getting tested positive, I just continued to feel really weak. I continued feeling sick. I was getting intermittent times of coughing, not consistently coughing. My heart rate was still at around 98 beats per minute. Today is probably the first day where I'm starting to feel a little bit back to normal. I've not had any more temperature since that Saturday morning, which is really good. I had some stomach aches, but that was probably because of, you know, not having eaten for so many days. Again, today I've managed to eat a lot more than I have the last couple of days. But I was like just really low on energy. I kept my fluids up as much as possible. But yeah, my temperature started to drop, and I was just taking regular pain relief, you know, paracetamol for the pains and aches that I had. I guess I'm just lucky in the sense that it hasn't affected my breathing, and that I've not needed to go into hospital. So I've stayed at home this whole time, and I've not needed to go into hospital, and that for me is obviously a really positive thing. It's weird because coronavirus is affecting people in so many different ways, and everybody who gets it experiences so many different symptoms. And yeah, I mean, it's still quite a shock to me to think that I've, you know, well, I've technically still got it at the moment, but that I've had it. The only way it's really affected my blood sugars, well, the diabetes side of it, is obviously my blood sugars, which have just remained consistently high. Today I'm feeling a lot better. Today I don't have a migraine anymore. I don't have a temperature. I'm checking my temperature regularly to make sure that I don't develop any fevers or anything. Today is also the last day of my antibiotics for my kidney infection. It'll be interesting to see if anything does happen in these next couple of days after taking my antibiotics. But it's just really strange how everything occurred all at the same time, and it just makes you question so many things with having two things occurring at the same time as well. So I don't really know what to think or say about it all. I'm just happy that I can say I've had it and, you know, survived it, and can tell you guys how it happened for me. And, you know, I'm just really sad for all of those people who have had it and have passed away with it, because it's nothing to be messed with. It really, really isn't. It's a serious virus, and if you're someone who's vulnerable and unwell, you know, you may not be one of those people that can sit and tell your story, and that's awful. That is my coronavirus story. I honestly don't think I've ever felt so unwell in these last couple of days, and I'm just so grateful that I'm now starting to feel normal again and starting to enjoy food again, and can walk around without feeling sick and feeling fatigued. It's just so strange. It really, really is. I never ever thought I'd be making this video, ever. If you guys have got any other questions that you would like to know, then please ask me in the comments below. But I'm going to leave that video here for now, guys. So I hope you enjoyed listening to my long coronavirus story, and I will see you guys really soon with another video.